Kindness is its own reward, said nobody playing a video game ever. No, when we do something nice in a video game, we expect, at a minimum, sweet loot, karma points, or if we're playing Fable, a set of angel wings. And yet occasionally, a game will go entirely the other way, and instead of giving us a fabulous prize for a good deed, said game brutally knocks us back for being a selfless hero trying to do the right thing. What the hell, game? Consider these 7 times you were punished for being nice, and beware spoilers for the following games.
There's something off about me. I know what other people are feeling. I can see these auras around them.
The Life is Strange series of story-based adventure games team up troubled youths with supernatural powers, like Max in the original game, who can rewind time itself.
Get that gun away from me, psycho! No!
Or Daniel in Life is Strange 2, who has telekinesis.
Daniel, calm down!
You lied!
Or Alex in Life is Strange True Colors, who can see feelings and sometimes make them go away.
Idiot. You're gonna lose her. You're gonna lose her and it's all your fault.
Look, I'm not saying feelings aren't cool and important, but if 2 spots open up on the X-Men, I know who's getting in. Regardless, Life is Strange True Colors is a moving tale of grief, family, friendship, and sinister corporate cover-ups, in which protagonist Alex loses her brother Gabe to a landslide.
Gabe?
Look, I'm not saying feelings aren't cool and important, but if she had time rewinding or telekinesis powers, he'd be fine. In the aftermath, Alex must investigate the blast that triggered the landslide and manage the emotions of half the town. Gabe's girlfriend Charlotte, for instance, is filled with rage at the senseless loss.
None of it matters. He's dead. I wish I were too.
Charlotte's fury is so intense that maybe you think this would be a good opportunity to use my supernatural empathy to take away her pain. That would be a nice thing to do, wouldn't it? Except if you do choose to take away Charlotte's anger, assuming that you're being nice, Alex later winds up lashing out at her close friends on account of all the rage she's hoovered up. Then later still, you find Charlotte has become unnaturally detached from all her feelings. And then later still, at the end of the game, when you need her support against the villainous corporation behind Gabe's death, she's too numb to back you up.
All I know is everything falls to shit when you're involved.
You wouldn't be saying that if I had time powers. Then I'd show everybody. Okay, so maybe it's not nice to steal people's emotions, even if the emotions are negative ones. Also, you might think, except when local police officer Pike collars Alex and hauls her into the station, you sense he's filled with fear about what will happen if anyone stands up to that villainous corporation.
What are you so scared of?
You're given the option to remove Pike's fear, and on this occasion, you really should take away his feelings, because only if Pike has had a non-consensual supernatural fearectomy will he have the nerve to support you against the bad guys at the end of the game.
You know what? I'm not scared of you anymore.
What do you want from me, game? Is it to consider each case on its own merits and how the world is a complicated place? Because if so, fine. This would never happen on the X-Men.
I came to warn you, Jedi. You know not what path you walk.
This battle is mine alone. I am not defenseless.
On rare occasions, it's not so much the game punishing you for being nice, as it is one of the game's characters, telling you off for trying to do the right thing. In Knights of the Old Republic 2, for instance, your party member Kreia is an exiled Jedi Master with a vision-limiting hood, braids, and in the grand Star Wars tradition, one hand chopped off. Yeah, that'll happen. Somehow, it's not the pain in her wrist stump that makes Kreia cranky about good deeds, but instead her unconventional perspective on the supposed light and dark sides of the Force.
Like so many Jedi, you hear, but you do not listen. You have much to learn.
So dedicated is Kreia to not being nice that when you and the gang rock up on Nar Shaddaa and she sees you giving a few coins to a beggar, she absolutely goes off on one.
Why did you do such a thing? Such kindnesses will mean nothing. His path is set. Giving him what he has not earned is like pouring sand into his hands.
Wow. All right, Kreia. Just trying to help him survive.
And would that be a kindness? What if by surviving another day he brings a greater darkness upon another?
Jeez, someone got up on the Sith side of the bed. There follows an edifying cutscene in which we see the beggar being accosted by a second beggar, we assume, who beats him up and takes the money you gave the first beggar. And it's all your fault for being nice. Unless this is only happening in Kreia's misanthropic imagination. Either way, consider yourself well and truly told off.
Perhaps in the end, all you have wrought is more pain. And that is my lesson to you. Be careful of charity and kindness, lest you do more harm with open hands than with a clenched fist.
Which would be more convincing as a moral thesis if Kreia didn't go on to transform into evil Sith Lord Darth Treya, which undermines the point a smidge.
And of course you must be willing to die, to kill us all.
Great stuff. Everybody give her a hand. Because she needs one. Because it got cut off.
Yeah, no, I got that.
What do you want, Phoebe?
You know Kausos?
The town on the other side of the island? Why?
People that are sick. And my friend Kina is too. There is a blood fever. They say it's a curse and they need help from the gods.
Blood Fever is a quest that you will encounter early on in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It is also the name of my unproduced screenplay about disco dancing vampires. Call me Hollywood. Anyway, in Odyssey it transpires that the village of Korsos on the island of Kefalonia has been ravaged by a deadly blood plague. The village has been burnt and the inhabitants massacred in an attempt to contain the disease, but one innocent family has survived.
They killed our brothers, our neighbors.
We survived the massacre, but he'll kill us now.
The priest that's holding them hostage insists that the blood plague can't be cured and that the only way to stop the spread is to execute the cowering prisoners.
Nothing has worked. Sacrifice, prayers.
Prayers and sacrifices. Guess you really have tried everything. It's a tricky situation, all right. The priest doesn't exactly seem happy about having to kill this family, but he's convinced it's the best thing to do for the good of the rest of the island's inhabitants, to the point where if you defy him, you're going to end up in a stand-up fight.
Nobody gets better. This is the only way all of Kefalonia will save itself from extermination.
Well, if I can just block out the fact that there are children about to be killed here, maybe I can just walk away.
We have children. Think of them.
Ah, nuts. So you probably do what is the objectively nice thing to do, at least in the short term, which is prevent this poor defenseless family being murdered in front of you by defeating the priest and his lackeys. And then you play for several more hours, feeling pretty good about yourself and mostly forgetting this ever happened, until it's revealed later in the game that the blood fever has spread to the entire island of Kefalonia, thereby wiping out many, many more people.
A sickness has spread across the island.
Heartbreaking. And, I would argue even more heartbreaking, not a single disco dancing vampire. You know what to do, Hollywood.
You about to get schooled. Go faster, longer, and harder. That's how we stay together.
In GTA 4, you play as a bad man doing very bad things. In fact, the nicest thing you're likely to do is to resist the urge to kill your irritating cousin Roman in a helicopter crash.
Nico, you're really moving up in the world, no?
Sorry, I thought I could do it, but it's literally impossible. GTA 4's first piece of story DLC, remember when those were a thing, was The Lost and Damned. This DLC introduces a new playable character, Johnny Klebitz, and does offer you one opportunity to be genuinely kind, in between bouts of killing many, many people. I'm a complex three-dimensional character. The Lost and Damned follows the fortunes of the Lost MC, a motorcycle club in Liberty City. A major thorn in Johnny's side throughout the story is Brian Jeremy, the club's secretary, because apparently even hard-bitten biker gangs need someone to open the mail and organise the Christmas party.
You know, I've had a complicated few weeks. I can only imagine. Shut up, Brian.
Brian is a Weasley character who is constantly sucking up to club leader Billy, and when Billy starts making some questionable calls that cause a rift in the gang, Johnny and Brian find themselves on opposite sides of the divide, culminating in a massive shootout in Brian's safe house.
Billy's not here to protect me, Brian.
Clear out the safe house and you have a decision to make, to either kill Brian or be uncharacteristically merciful and let him live, on the promise that he never shows his face in Liberty City again.
That guy was too pathetic to kill. He's already dead anyway.
Too pathetic to kill. That's saying something considering the amount of people I have, as previously mentioned, killed. Except if you do spare Brian, then a bit later on in the game, you run into him just wandering around in Liberty City in direct contradiction to the terms of your kind sparing earlier in the game.
Hey, I thought I told you to stay out of town.
I did. I left. I was a ghost. Seriously, Johnny.
You were a ghost for like 5 minutes, man.
He claims he can help you out, but when you follow him, this jerk actually leads you into another enormous firefight.
Hey! You didn't expect this one, did you?
And then, to cap it all off, you have to kill him anyway, making your earlier act of kindness entirely pointless.
Die!
Okay, but who's going to organise the Christmas party now?
1, 2, 3. The one to fetch the kindlings. Thee!
Interesting rhyme.
Don't know you. Go away.
In sociology, unintended consequences are the unexpected knock-on effects of an action, whether those effects be good, bad, or, in the case of The Witcher 3, totally devastating. Totally devastating because The Witcher 3 is packed full of both unintended consequences and morality that's greyer than a pre-Balrog Gandalf.
You still think me rotten to the core. A base bastard, don't you?
So even when you think that maybe possibly you're doing a nice thing, like taking your stressed out surrogate daughter for a drink, later on it turns out that, whoops, sorry, now she's going to die alone in the worst possible ending of the game. Well, shoot. To pick another example with more immediate but similarly deadly unintended consequences, there's the quest Whispering Hillock, in which Geralt is dispatched to the village of Downwarren, which has been suffering strange goings-on.
The war awoke an ancient power. An evil one that feeds on bloodshed. Nightmares haunt our nights and days. Folks sleepwalk from their homes, never to return.
It turns out that the source of the strangeness is a spirit trapped in an ancient oak tree.
Be gone. Come no closer. I know whence you come.
Far be it from us to trust a ghost imprisoned in a giant spiky heart beneath an old tree, but she does say that only she can save the orphaned children held by the crones of Crookback Bog, and she will if you only set her free.
The children, I know all. I know what awaits them. Free me, please. I must help.
If you're trying to be nice, and what with saving orphans being the quintessential nice thing to do, you might well go gather the ingredients and perform the ritual required to free this tree ghost by decanting her into a horse. Good news, the spirit keeps her word and rescues the swamp orphans, so instead of being eaten by crones, they wind up in a school in Novigrad. Bad news, she also paid the villagers of Downwarren a visit in her new horsey form, so they've gone mad and murdered each other.
It's the spirit of the forest, taking revenge on those who sought its demise, driving them mad.
Oh sure, Geralt, make it like you weren't the one who put that ghost in that horse. This leaves you with both the intended consequence of saving some orphans and the unintended consequence of dooming a village. So I'll be taking my Witcher of the Year award whenever you're ready. Thanks.
Khajiit has no time for you.
When you boil it down, most of your time in RPGs is spent wandering around helping people, like a sort of heavily armed, magic blasting Boy Scout. Congratulations, you just earned your Murdering Bandits badge. You can sew it next to your cooking and orienteering ones. Usually your reward for helping people is just that, a reward. A handful of gold pieces, or some useful item that will assist you the next time you have to murder a load of bandits. There is one occasion in the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, though, where the opposite happens. Wander the countryside southwest of Old Velothi, and you'll come across Sinette, who is hanging out with her invisible friend, Tavernew. It turns out she's lost an expensive ring in a nearby pond, and she asks you to swim in and get it.
What can I do for you, friend?
Now, I know what you're going to say. Stop whining, you giant baby, because picking up a ring is the easiest quest you'll do in this entire game. But it's not as straightforward a task as it sounds. The water's murky, and the ring is a dark colour, meaning it blends in with the bed of the pond. And you have to keep surfacing for air as you look. The game makes this pretty tough. I'll Gloss over the fact that with the amount of plate armour I'm wearing, if this were realistic, I would sink to the bottom and immediately drown. Find the ring and you'll hear an ethereal, otherworldly message, which is your first clue that you're not going to be handed a blanket and a cup of cocoa when you return with Sinette's lost property.
No good deed goes unpunished, Outlander.
Sure enough, you emerge from the pond only to discover Sinette and her mostly invisible mate are now hostile and keen to leave you face down in the water. And if you want to get out of this mess, you're going to have to kill them both. So much for my karmic high score run. I'll have to try again next reincarnation. Still, it's not all bad. You do get to keep the ring, which, in spite of being described as expensive, is worth only 30 gold. Oh, and once you've murdered the pair, you can loot Tavernew and receive an item which turns you invisible, called the Amulet of Shadows. Which is weird, because surely if you're invisible, you don't cast a shadow. They should have called it the Amulet of No Shadows. Honestly, this quest.
I owe this to you. It's a wonderful place. They even let beggars like myself in. What's better, we keep our distance. Don't step on anyone's toes, right? The way proper Yarnamites ought to live.
In a game as bleak as Bloodborne, you have to cherish the good moments, like the part where... No, I'm drawing a blank. You could be forgiven for thinking you'd found one opportunity to make the gore-soaked city of Yharnam a smidge more cheerful, however, at the point in Bloodborne where you find this beggar alone on a rooftop huddled amid several bodies.
Blimey, don't scare me like that.
Prior to this point, you'll have explored a place called Erden Chapel, a safe zone in the usually extremely dangerous Bloodborne world. Here, a pitiable chapel dweller will entreat you to do the kind thing and tell anyone you come across about this safe haven.
Yharnam's done for, tell ya. But if you spot anyone with their wits about them, tell them about this here Erden Chapel. They'll be safe here. The incense wards off the beasts. Spread the word. Tell them to come on over.
In this spirit of kinship, you can indeed send several NPCs found throughout Yharnam to the safety of the chapel. So when the beggar on the rooftop asks for a safe haven, well, it would be cruel not to, right? He is surrounded by corpses, but so is literally everything in this hellhole. We should give him the benefit of the doubt.
Would you know of any safe havens? Well, I'll be. Thank you.
A good deed done. See, this Yharnam place doesn't have to be so terrible. Let's head back to the chapel and check in on everyone, maybe get some pizzas in. Except, upon your return, you'll find the chapel dweller replaced with a worrying smear of blood. Because guess what? The beggar, or suspicious beggar, as he's known in the game, will, once sent to Erden Chapel, begin the process of killing every other NPC in your lovely safe zone.
Ah, hello again. I owe this to you. It's a wonderful place.
Well, it was, mate, before, you killed everyone. Yes, this is how Bloodborne rewards you for trying to be nice. And if you try to take revenge on this suspicious beggar for his crimes...
Have you got a screw loose? Or is it your animal intuition?
He turns into a gigantic beast. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and do consider heading over to our Patreon at patreon.com/OXClub if you'd like to support the channel. Now, you know what I'm going to say. If you want to do a nice thing that isn't going to be punished with some horrible consequence, then why not click on one of these two videos that are up here. There's one from us, one from our sister channel. Just a nice thing you could do for us that will have no bad consequences whatsoever, I promise. I promise. I mean, you'd have to click to find out, but I promise.